Hey guys, welcome back to The Interceptor. We're here with Season 61, War Number 2, and AOH has matched up against DD13. These guys are Masters Alliance, so it's going to be a good matchup. I don't know what I was doing here while waiting for those boosts to go on, or waiting to finish boosting. I guess I did like half of mine, backed out, and then came back in. But we're on Path 9 again, because as long as people are banning Nico, they're just going to place her here every single time, and, you know, like, it's an easy fight. It just burns a PS1 every single time. So we're going to hood this once again, and then we have Angela for one fight, and then 6 more hood fights to end the war off, so that's pretty cool. In this war, I went for a double heavy. I don't really understand why I did this, because like even watching this video back as soon as I finished it, I was kind of confused on why I did this. There's legitimately no reason to, and it just cost me 10% of my health, or 8% of my health, 9%, for literally no reason. And then there I go for a medium ender by accident, but there I recognize that I'm able to intercept the L2. So at this point, we just want her to not throw specials, keep cycling L2s, and the hazard shift is going to do almost nothing to us. We did get 2 almost back-to-back triggers of hazard shift, which means the second one was super powered by the Fury, but it's fine. And then she's at 45%. I know I can go for my heavy here, and it does kill, so that's pretty nice. I'm pretty sure... Yeah, we've gone 2 for 2 so far this season on bypassing immortality with Fate Seal, so that's pretty cool. I mean, statistically, it is the best, or sorry, not the best, it is the most likely thing to happen. Even if you parry, or sorry, especially if you parry, then you increase or reduce the ability accuracy of it triggering even further. Here. This is Angela versus Arnim Zola on 18. This is a path split because there's no one that can safely take both of this and the Dark Phoenix that easily. I mean, technically Angela can take both of them because she would just heal from... like, I would, for example, run Suicides to take that fight, and I would just push to SP2 every single time, and then I would end up healing from both my recoils and her Nova Flames. So it's technically doable, although I would never assign it. But she counters this really well. She can parry non-contacts. And I decided to go for the SP3 cycle in this fight. The only reason is that normally with Angela, you want to spam special 1s to get as many Furies as possible. But the other option you have is to go for double aptitudes. So that's what we went for here, because if I'm spamming special 1, that means the Indestructible is triggering more often. So we didn't want that. The Energize on this node is actually going to help us get around the Power Focus 1 here and push Arnim Zola to SP2, which is by far what you want to do, at least with Angela. With a lot of attackers too, but at least with Angela, you want to push to SP2 every single time. Against Zola, because it means his attack rating is lower and obviously less combat power rate with no Energizes, because his attack increase comes from his Energizes. And then here I think we're just going to hit him with a heavy... No, he didn't die. Okay, we're going to bait the special 1. And then he goes down. That's Angela's only fight. Clean fight. Didn't get hit. Very, very safe. We'll take it. Obviously, if you bait special 1 instead of special 2, then you don't take the disintegration damage. But in my opinion, the disintegration damage is worth having to both bait less special attacks and the opponent having... lower attack rating. Now that may not have been true last season when he was a tactic defender, because it just contributed more to the same type of damage from the global, but yeah, that's what we're doing this season. Okay, Rintrah here on Ebb and Flow Intercept. We're going to take this with Hood. Really, really bad matchup, and it's just going to be slow. What I'm going to do, and my plan going into this fight, was that I'm going to fail the Ebb and Flow intercept. So I'm not going to intercept until I get to my L2. So we're going to get to the L2, place the Fate Seal, and then land an intercept. And then that will allow me... Excuse me. So we're going to get our invisibility up right here. Then we're going to SP2. The Neutralize is going to fail the new invisibility, but it's not going to remove the old one. So because I had the Fate Seal up, we've now permanently turned off Ebb and Flow Intercept. The only way it can reactivate in the fight is if I were to intercept again. So that's what we're doing in this fight, is just we're not going to intercept. And I sped through this fight just because it's long. Hood versus Rintrah doesn't really work. Like, it's technically fine, but obviously not being able to have your invisibility because every time you touch them, essentially, unless Fate Seal fails it, you get a neutralize on yourself. And then there, I was scared that was going to count as an intercept, my special intercept, but luckily I delayed it just long enough for it not to count. And yeah, this fight is going to go down right here. I think we're going to throw this L2. No, we're just going to strike her into heavy. There we go. Okay, and you know what? We walk out of that fight with max bullets, and that's really all you can ask from a fight like that. There are going to be 2 fights specifically back-to-back on the mini-boss islands that I knew I would not be able to farm bullets on, either of them. I knew I would have to just go full-out damage cycle. So my goal is to go into those fights with as many bullets as possible, which is why I had this. I actually planned myself last in Section 2. I literally left myself until last, and then I just took whatever path was left, and this happened to be the path that was left. So this one, really easy. Don't even have to bait specials if you don't want to. I just did. And yeah, this is Nova on Ebb and Flow Intercept. In my opinion, Hood is the best option for it. There's arguments for who else works, but in my opinion, Hood is best. And yeah, this Heavy's going to kill. No, actually, we just go for a light because it's faster. The animation's faster than a Heavy. So there we go. Section 2 is all done. We'll go into the minis, and we're going to be starting out here. There, I was trying to hit the go button, but I missed, and I tapped on Mortal Abomination. We're going to be taking Node 38 here, Thanos. And I could have technically taken Node 38 or 37 Sentinel, but I ended up sending Carolina Dean to Sentinel, and she did just fine. So yeah, we're going to take this Deathless Thanos, Hood into Deathless Thanos. Fantastic matchup if you know what you're doing. It's not a fight where you'll be able to cycle L2s for the most part, but you're just going to keep hitting him with L2s, get your invisibility back up when it falls off. Very, very safe. And I am actually going to tank a Heavy with an invuln boost in this fight to heal back up. So you'll see me do that at some point. I didn't have any other fights that really wanted an invuln in this entire war, so I just decided to use one here because I had one in the overflow. I mean, technically it was going to last into the next war anyways, but who cares? And yeah, normally what you want to do is you want to remove the protection with your special and then detonate, but I know that damage is not going to be an issue in this fight, so I just frankly didn't bother. And then here we're going to wait for our invisibility. And L2. I think we're going to fail the protection. Yeah. So Ebb and Flow knockdown, excuse me, is now turned off. Technically, if I were to knock down with what's it called? With Fate Seal not active, then I would re-trigger the node and it would come back, but we're not going to do that. I think it is actually going to come back because it's only a 65% chance for it to not come back. Okay, it didn't come back there, but I think it does later in the fight. But yeah, you'll notice that I did tank that heavy attack just because I wanted to heal a little bit. I'd taken a little chip damage, and I mean, I have an invuln. Might as well use it to heal, right? Alright, so 2 protection phases down. We are going to use the 3rd phase to build up our bullets, and then we are going to use those bullets once we enter the 4th phase to just completely bypass it. And then here we go for an L2. I know the last hit is going to trigger an unstoppable, but due to the animation of Hood's SP2, he can't be countered. So nothing to worry about there. And then because he had just gone past his protection, I knew that heavy would kill. So we did finish at 100% health, thanks to tanking that heavy attack from Thanos. Next up here, we're going to be going over to a decently awkward fight, honestly. Not that it's a difficult one. And this is going to be Chavez. And I used up more bullets than I was anticipating against Thanos. I think I probably should have slowed the fight down and gone for probably 3 or 4 more heavy attacks at some point throughout the fight. But I didn't. So I entered this with 28, and I'm thinking I should probably get some bullets back because realistically I'm going to use about 10 here, and I don't know if 18 is going to be enough for my final difficult fight. My last Hood fight of the war, I don't actually need bullets for whatsoever, but the one after this I do. Also, I, at one point in this fight, completely lose track of Mixmaster, and I'm going to get evaded like 3 times in a row. There, I don't know why I went for that heavy. I should have just waited because I put Dex on myself, but it's fine. And then here, I think we're going to do like a one-hit combo, and then this one we can counter with a heavy, which is nice, and then I think we're going to go for an L2. No, I go for another heavy. What am I doing? And I just waste my L2. So then I go for another heavy, nice. So we are actually getting a good amount of bullets back. But that was just super sloppy, and I'm pretty sure I get evaded again in this fight. Here we almost pushed the L2, but I knew that wouldn't push. Here we almost pushed the L2 once again, and at one point we are going to push the L2, I believe right here. Yeah, so there, what happened is my light attack got evaded. And then during the animation of Chavez throwing a special attack, I whiffed a medium. So when I countered that special attack with a medium, it got evaded. And because I was not paying attention to that, that got annoying and a little bit scary. And then here she just throws the L1 into my hard block. Try to counter with a light, but I didn't have the spacing to do it. We get comboed. And then now the fight's over. Okay, now we're fine. We just threw the L2. Now we're ready to detonate. In hindsight, that might have killed before that L2 with the heavy. I don't know. If it didn't kill, it would have left her at maybe 2 or 3%. But I wanted to be extra safe, and there was no risk of me dying in that fight other than like eating a special 2, and that was not going to happen. So we still walk out the fight with like 85% health, even though it wasn't the most beautiful fight in the world. Still fine. Next up, we have this 44 Lumatrix. So this is the stun immune hazard shift, and Luma's not the greatest matchup in the world for Hood, because when Luma throws a heavy attack, you get tracking, so then you can no longer miss. But we're going to hope that Luma does not throw a heavy attack. The last war before this, war number 1, we saw this placement and we sent Vox, and our Vox actually died. And I'd taken this previously once, and then I also had taken this matchup on 36, which is the stun reflect one. So I was pretty confident here. I decided not to go for my L2 right there because I want to wait for my invisibility to come back. I was attempting to bait this special 1 while the invisibility was on cooldown, but Luma just did not want to throw it, so I was like, okay, bro, I'm not going to force you to throw it. If anything, you're just giving me a little bit more power back from Power Steal. That L2 almost got us to SP3. Had I been using a 150%, or sorry, had I not been using a 150% Mystic power back, if I'd been using a 200%, that would have pushed me to special 3, and it would have forced me to bait out a couple specials. So 51-second fight. I'm still happy with how that went. It could have gone a little bit better because at one point I threw an SP2 and I got 3 poisons while I had Fate Seal up, which is crazy. Like, that's so statistically improbable. That's such a high amount of poisons. But it's fine. So right here, this is our last fight of the war. This is Baron Zemo on node 47. I can't understand this one. We've seen Baron Zemo getting placed more recently, and I just don't understand it. I think unless he's on a node that forces you or makes you want to place debuffs, he just doesn't really have a place in defense. Like, he was placed on 41 last war, and now he's on 47. It's just the easiest Hood fight in the world. Like, frankly, I'm just gonna be honest. It's so insanely easy. I knew I didn't even need bullets for this one. Before we get to my L2 to place the Fate Seal, we are going to get a little bit of what's it called? Yeah, and then there I was trying to bait a heavy so I could remove the Falter passive, but we're going to just end up waiting out the Falter. But once you have the Fate Seal up, the Fate Seal removing the buffs does not count as a nullify, so it does not give the defender the power back, the power gain that they get from that, which is nice. But yeah, you're just going to cycle SP2s, throw another SP2, back to the special 2, and I'm just going to keep doing this until he is done. This is my last Hood fight, so I don't need to worry about bullets. I can just keep throwing L2s, and I believe that is the final one. So now we go for a heavy. and bro is dead. Quick little, what was that, like 333,000 detonation. We did end up having one death in my BG. It was not a death technically. It was a timeout to the boss node with like 10% health left, but I mean, it's an attack bonus loss, so technically it's the same thing. And we did end up losing this war. Now, we did not die 14 times. 2 of those were extra deaths, so we died to one node 5 times. So the score was actually 10-12, assuming no one dies to the final fight of the war. But which is, I guess, an improvement off of last war, because last war we died 17 times, and this time was only 12. But still not great. And yeah, that's not great. And we do take our first loss of the season, and we're now 1-1. I still have 0 death total, and I have soloed 16 out of 16, or 100% of my fights. And I have a current deathless streak of 136 fights after this war, with an active streak of 70 on my main and 93 fights on my alt, which is technically still active. So that's going to be all for today. I hope you all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.